Thanks for joining us this afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce our final speaker for the day for this track, Mr. Will Baggett. Will is a former CIA SME for iOS and Mac forensics, NATO SOF cyber trainer, and volunteer of many BSides conferences. He's presented to NATO headquarters, DEF CON 2019, BSides Las Vegas, and BSides Detroit. He's a senior cybersecurity consultant at Revolutionary Security, a forensics analyst for Operation Safe Escape. There's a lot more here, but it hasn't all been adjudicated yet. So it's my pleasure to introduce Will Baggett.
Thank you for coming out. Let me know if there's any problems with the microphone, if you can hear me. So the title of this is taken from the 1960s Army lexicon for broken arrow for when forces have overrun American lines. So the call would go out, broken arrow, looking for any and all air support, whether it's a B-52, whether it's helicopters, gunships, Cessnas just to act as spotters, but anything that is provided for assistance because the enemy's inside the perimeter can help get forces out of a bad situation. From that, being an information security crowd, the fix my desktop, my Wi-Fi doesn't work, I can't get Wi-Fi in my bedroom, the printer doesn't work, my son's putting things on Snapchat that I don't want to be on public display. Can you help me fix that? Fixing those technical issues has also turned into fix my situation. My husband has put a bug inside my office to watch me while I'm working to see who I'm talking to. My ex is now getting copies of all my text messages. You're in information security. You're working with a huge pharmaceutical firm. Can you help me get this resolved? Can you help me get this stopped? I want to get my life back. And this talk is going to give you the framework to maybe get some ideas when someone comes to you for help, how to help them better their home situation. Because when it comes down to it, we all want to do something for information security. If we can't take care of what's at home, then there's really no need to travel somewhere and watch somebody else's network security center living out of a hotel room. That just doesn't make any sense. A couple of quick resources. There's goaskrose.com from safeescape.org. Go Ask Rose is a parent of Safe Escape. Sorry, vice versa. It's a resource center for people looking to get out of domestic abuse situations, founded by Christopher Cox. If you want to volunteer with the group, help@safeescape.org is the way to either volunteer to help the group or to seek help yourself. So if you're flying back and someone says, oh, you went to a conference, what did you learn? I'm in information security. Oh, I've got this situation. There's your one shot. You can tell them to go to these two resources and begin the process of getting help. Another great resource is the Smart Girl's Guide to Privacy. It's a little bit longer read than a website, but just some quick triage if you don't have time to delve further. So this talk is kind of built on the information security principles of data confidentiality, data availability, and data integrity. From those, we take the same CIA triad, but we make it control the environment, identity theft, and data availability. And out of those three, the most important is to control your environment. It doesn't matter that you preserve the data. The black box in the Tesla is intact, but we lost all the occupants of the car. You have to make sure the person asking for help is physically safe. And by controlling the environment, there's personal security, data security, and family disclosures. It doesn't matter how strong, excuse me. These are the equivalent of 4 cans of Coke in 1 can. These are amazing. It's personal security, data security, and family disclosures. So personal security, if somebody's physically abusing you in the situation, you'll want to get off the X. Data security, change your passwords, lock down your devices. But those first two don't matter if, for family disclosures, like we've seen with NATO Special Forces, somebody showed, my son's being deployed to, thank you, sir. My son's being deployed to the war zone in Syria, but don't tell anybody, it's a secret. That's on Facebook. That doesn't really work as a secret. So in here, who's heard of getting off the X? Is that a familiar concept? Hands, yes, no? A couple. That means immediately getting out of a bad situation. It means you're on the crosshairs for a target. We had a meeting a few years back. One of the case officers had a meeting overseas. It went south. Afterwards, the chief of station had us together to debrief to figure out what happened. And the case officer just stuck around to see if things would get better. Station chief said these words, "No bad situation ever got better by sticking around." Same thing applies here. Jim at Revolutionary Security said the same thing. You never have to ask permission to leave a dangerous situation. If you know it's a bad situation, your person, your friend, whoever is being physically abused, mentally abused, verbally abused, you don't have to wait for someone to say, it's okay for you to leave. You can leave on your own and deal with the repercussions later. So for getting off the X, have a bug-out bag packed. Show of hands, anybody know that term? Hurricane bag down here in Florida, right? What's that? Go bag? Yeah. So you want to have your important stuff in there. Your person wants to have the important stuff, whether it's a birth certificate, driver's license, passport, credit cards if you can, laptops, everything key that you need. If you need to leave in a moment's notice, have it with you and ready to go. Some of the people for Operation Safe Escape, some of the victims have been veterinarian techs, and they've kept their critical documents at the vet lab inside the safe, because it's one thing if the soon-to-be ex takes the document out of the dresser. It's another thing to break into the vet lab and break into the medicine cabinet. The police are going to respond to that just a little bit differently. We talked about thank you. What if they leave? Okay. What if they leave the premises? There's a couple of things to do. And first thing you want to do, the abusers left the situation. Wow, that's a great typo. I'm glad I stayed in my room all afternoon and worked on my slides. Do you want to change your passwords? You want to change your locks and your codes. You want to have a locksmith come over. And you want to change the garage door frequency. A lot of people, when the ex leaves, the garage door buzzer still is going to let them in. If you leave the door open to the house, they've still got access to the house. So recommend this in triage order. Call the landlord, call a locksmith, get the locks changed, change your garage door, and then start to work on your passcodes as they come over. Some of the garage door codes we've heard about, on the bottom flap, when you open it, it says, if you've forgotten your garage door passcode, here's how to bypass it. That's not a lock. That's just a glorified key. During this process, you want to be persistent and thorough, changing the passwords, changing your website access.
Do they have a clue to this? It's code so that it checks off.
We all know what happened after that, because Anakin didn't change his codes. So on a known safe machine, because we want to assume there might be stalkerware, you want to change your passwords and security questions, right? Standard practice. I know we're a little bit short on time here. It's usually an hour talk, but what's a known safe machine? Where would you go for a known clean machine? Family, friends, library, Apple Store. Just not the machine that's in the house, just not the device you have your physical hands on. But when you're doing this is one of the key points for the talk, it's okay to lie online. There's somebody in the crowd that drives her crazy when I give my name as Paul or Mike. I just don't like using my true name for anything in public setting or ordering Starbucks just because. So, where did your parents get married? If I can go to genealogy.com, that's not a password reset question. Where did your parents get married? Tatooine. Information. Where did you go to high school? Ridgemont High. It doesn't have to be the truth. They're just looking for an answer to the question. Events. Where did you meet your girlfriend? FarmersOnly.com. It doesn't matter what it is. It just doesn't have to be the truth. It's an answer to the question that you'll know and somebody else wouldn't know. So back to our scenario. What's that?
No, I say cousins only.
But what if they're a Clemson fan? And that's an accurate statement. So while the locksmith is coming over, while the landlord's coming over to reset the passwords, the passcodes to your house, the keys, whether it's a smart card, whatnot, you change your router. And you look down here and you can see, obviously there's nothing connected to the Ethernet. You can see the wireless device, it's the Galaxy S8. And then you can see it's a PC and it's a Mac. Well, the PC is actually my iPhone. I don't have it named to my true name iPhone just because I'll need to have that connected to the SSID to make it easier for somebody to find out what device it is for man-in-the-middle attack. Same here. You don't have to name your device your true name. So right here, this is the right frame for what should be connected to my wireless device. There's nothing unusual. Another thing to do, go to the router, capture the logs. You can see what's been added, what doesn't make sense, and what devices have been in the residence for the person who's been abused. What devices don't make sense? Is there something that doesn't fit? Take screenshots, take evidence as you're going through this. So you've reset your router. The locksmith hasn't come over yet. You go to your iPhone. We'll start with that. You go to Settings. And then you look down here and you can see on my Apple ID, it's present on my iPhone and 2 laptops. As well as if it was available, Find My iPhone, which acts as a Blue Force tracker, you can see everywhere I'm going with my phone. You can see that's available for anybody who has access to my ID. They can see where I am. So you'd want to turn those off. These slides will be available later for a how-to. You go to Share My Location. You don't want to share your location. If you're worried about somebody stalking, you want to turn that off. Also, you want to turn off that because you're going to share your notes, your pictures. We've had troops in the war zone with family settings turned on. They've been taking pictures of sensitive sites. And those pictures, because it's a family shared setting, those pictures show back up on mom, on grandmoms, on the kids' phones of IED blast, who knows what, because this setting isn't there. If we're telling the troops in war zones to turn this off, people in domestic abuse situations should also be cognizant to make sure this setting is turned off for personal digital protection. Very quick story. There's a woman who had been divorced 5 years. Her ex had enabled these settings, and he was able to see everywhere she was going for 5 solid years. Anytime she went out for drinks with friends, she got papers from an attorney saying, you're an alcoholic because you had drinks this night with the friends and left the kids with the babysitter, all because he was able to eavesdrop on these couple of radio settings. Also, a couple features, sarcastically said, from the iPhone. Go to Messages, Text Message Forwarding, and you can forward the text messages to your iOS device. I have my text set up to go to my laptops. One victim had this set where these text messages that she was getting, the SMS and the iMessage, were being sent to her ex-husband's iPad, laptop, and iPhone screenshot, and that went to an attorney and went to law enforcement and let them deal with it. It's not hacking, it's just changing a radio button. Same thing for Android. You go to recently used devices, look down here and you can see that the one device is now being mirrored on 4 other accounts. So again, take a screenshot, preserve that for evidence for later, and then only have the device present where you need the person to be. Just single sign, if you will. This probably makes a lot of sense. Oh yeah, I should have thought of that. But all this low-hanging fruit, when you put it together, gives you a lot of information about the person who's trying to get free from the abuser. Anybody familiar with Google Takeout? Show of hands, yes, no, 1. Google Takeout records everything you've ever done with your Google account since you created it. All your deleted emails, deleted text, your YouTube history, everything you've ever done on your Android, your location history, wireless devices connected, payment history, the full bevy of data while you're logged into Gmail is here. And once that data is pulled down by the adversary, you don't get it back. One good thing to know from an insider threat case we just wrapped up, if a text message is deleted in Google Hangouts, that's not available in Google Takeout Recovery. Conversely, if it's corporate and they pay Google enough, that text message is there. Unless you pay Google to retain it longer than a certain period, then it's deleted again. Basically, if you're paying Google, what's deleted is still going to be there. Facebook. Everyone loves Facebook, right? You go to your Facebook settings, account setup, security, active sessions, and you can see everywhere that your Facebook is still logged into. for user security and privacy. It doesn't matter how secure your password is if you're still present online. We had one young soldier who's specializing in cyber. We gave him a break. He went back to his barracks and found that when he had gone on vacation to Europe, he had logged into the group machine at a hostel 2 years ago. He was still actively logged in 2019 when he was there in 2017. The reason this is so absolutely important, your Facebook call data records are going to retain, when you have Messenger, it's going to retain not just the SMS, AT&T, T-Mobile, a couple of providers retain 3 days worth of information of the text messages themselves. AT&T only retains A to B sent messages. Facebook recovers and stores the full granular text message between the two. So whether it's divorce case, stalking, whatnot, if they have access to your Facebook and they can get this file, they've got the entire granular text just as if they had imaged your iPhone itself. If you go to your Apple account, your Apple laptop, and go to Keychain, everyone familiar with Keychain? Go down to Keychain, put in your password. This is from Infuse 17. Select, this is just the example, so it could be Gmail, it could be Facebook, Twitter, what have you. Drop down to there, go to Infuse 17, put in your username and password, and now you have the clear text of that password. Once you have that password on that known machine, they're back into your account. So you want to make sure you change your password. I keep saying be persistent and thorough about this. This is a USB drive that was given to me by a PI a couple of years ago. This text message is about making sure you delete your text. These are deleted texts recovered with a forensic tool put on a USB drive. They deleted the deleted text about the deleted texts before they gave me the drive. I recovered it with disk drill. Because it wasn't wiped, you're still able to recover data with freeware off the internet. So if you're going to leave an abusive situation, take your data with you. If they leave it behind, disk drill and other tools make this very easy to recover if you need to defend yourself in court. There was a person who put their TV on Facebook Marketplace, 65-inch TV, it's too big to move. When someone with Operation Safe Escape helped the person move it, it was found the seller had remained logged in, this is a picture of it, of Facebook, Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, and Twitter. Why you need Twitter on a 65-inch TV, I don't know. But they were still logged in. So the attorney with our group logged this other person out, being ethical about it. But who logs into Facebook and Twitter on a big screen TV? And two, who thinks to log out in an emergency situation? You've got to consider all this low-hanging fruit. It's going to give someone windows into your life that you may not consider. Even this one's a little bit creepy. You go to GitHub, Facebook sleep stats, they can see when you're awake, when you're asleep. So if you start a night shift, they can now see, based on the frequency of your posts with this Python plugin, exactly what your news cycle of life is. The best solution is not to post anything on Facebook, Twitter, and just be silent on social media. That may or may not be possible given your job function. Talking about, family operational security. From Carrie Underwood, she said, my parents will family will put out, I wore this shirt to this restaurant this time of day. That gives the attacker geolocation from other sources as to where you are. It doesn't matter how well you lock down your information if other people are going to vomit this out for you. Got anybody here who's worked in SOC or worked with Splunk, insider risk, insider threat? A couple. When you see employees badge in and out, that's controlled access data. Only a few people have access to it. But to give somebody similar access on the home front, all you have to do is add someone's email account to the Ring doorbell before you leave the premises. And now they've still got access to the front door. And not just like corporate, where they can watch and see how often you came in through the door. They have full access to 1080p audio-video recording of all the conversations that took place around the door. Down here in the South, we don't just say goodbye. We talk for another 20 to 30 minutes at the front door. That's something the X is going to have access to. So it's the same concept as what you deal with on the corporate side. It's just The domestic side of you need to scrub the access control list from your Ring doorbell. Does the ex have access to this? Let's take them off and change the password. Same for Alexa. Amazon Alexa records every conversation. If it says, hey Alexa, or something that sounds like Alexa, if you say I talk to Alex, it's going to record that conversation because you might have said Alexa. And these historical recordings are still online. And if they have the shared access to this, they can go back and listen to it. And not only that, they have access to your smart home device history. They can go in and turn off your burglar alarm, turn off the smoke detector. Back when CSI Cyber came out in 2012, we laughed about how ridiculous of a concept that was. And now this is something that your son can bring home an Amazon Echo Dot, connect it to your network, and someone has access to do these types of malicious attacks to your home security system for convenience. So again, just scrub the access control list, but be aware these are things you need to look at. Another one, I'm a boring but a certified fraud examiner. There's a thing called implied trust, and if you have a joint Amazon account but don't take them off, they keep charging your credit card. Attorneys and banks say, well, it was assumed you approved this because you didn't stop their access. So they can run your credit card up, max out your credit card, and you're still liable because you didn't remove them. So you have to make sure you scrub all the ACLs, or help the person who's come to you scrub the ACLs on this because of the liability that your person would be left with. Moving on to sprint spools. Let me check the time here because they're going to kick us out hard at 4. On the print spools, on the Windows side, excuse me, hit print history and you can see all the metadata for all the names of the files printed. So even though I have access to the corporate network, I can see plans, intents, and metadata of what that unit is going to do. Another client site for the printer spools, I just walked over, hit reprint, and it reprinted the entire ream, 500 pages plus of everything that had ever been printed on that classified printer. I wasn't cleared for that. I walked over, oh crap. And just watched it print out, found the security officer, told him what I did, but the lesson was I wasn't cleared for their facility. I was cleared to speak, just like here. But they're equally as vulnerable because just like your person, you're trying to help the domestic abuse situation, if you don't take the printer with you, everything you've done, your new apartment, new bank account, new job, you could be vulnerable just by hitting reprint. It doesn't matter what your password is if the copies of your old documents are still there. I'm fun at parties. On the Windows side, if you go to var spool cups within terminal, it shows all the print jobs. The ones with C will only retain the metadata. The ones with D, does anybody know what these files that start with D are? I have a prize if you do. Yes. What's that? What's that? Yeah, the one that starts with D. What is that? Why is that different? It's a PDF. I can actually drag and drop that PDF. I can move that PDF to my desktop and reopen that file, whereas the other ones, I just get the metadata. Somebody printed a world market coupon. As someone in this room said, a coupon for 25% off only means I'm spending 75% more than I wanted to spend originally. You're marketing to me. But that D file, that's an actual PDF file. That's a financial file that somebody could recover from the Mac print spool that's still there. It's great for insider threat. It's great for fraud examination. But for the domestic abuse front, that's a vector that some people aren't aware exists. It's going to get a little bit creepy here, but Superhuman. Anybody heard of this? Great plugin. For $30 a month, you can have your corporate email tied to marketing, and you can see exactly how many times someone opened. They have a metapixel or a 1x1 pixel embedded. You can see the general GPS location of where they open the email, how many times they open the email, and what time they open the email. So for $30 a month, if your ex starts emailing you things about the divorce situation or your person's divorce situation, they're able to see exactly where you were when you opened it. A VPN does defeat this. Not loading remote images does defeat this. Gmail now offers the same feature, of course, for a fee, but Gmail offers the same stalking feature. And when you add that with DocSend for Outlook, you can see exactly how long they opened it, what page they read, what sections they skimmed over. I can understand corporate America having this for network security with O365. But on the home front, if somebody's a technical user and they're doing this to the X, they can now see exactly where you open the email, how long they read the document. It's a very simple risk mitigation. Use paper, use ink, print it out. Simple. The defeat for this, you go back to terminal. I tried to get a video, but presentation's in video, right? Open a terminal in Mac, type in MDLS, metadata list, drag and drop that PDF of question in there, and the beacon down at the bottom is going to be very apparent that this is a beacon going back to wherever the beacon came from, that you have tracking software in there. So far, we haven't found a way to mitigate this on Windows yet. Post Office offers something equally as impressive. Usually it's fine. Man in the middle, you can sign up to get PDFs, JPEGs of all the mail coming into your residence. But if you know the abuser is leaving the situation, they can sign up for this, get PDFs, JPEGs of all the mail coming in, remove checks, remove legal documents from the mailbox, and the victim never is aware that the key documents were removed. Talk to the Postmaster General of Fort Mill, South Carolina. Yeah, it's impressive. And the two ways to mitigate this are either to A, sign up for Man in the Middle yourself and find out that someone's already signed up for you, or to go to the post office in person to find out if this is on there and have it removed. So this is equally as damaging as having a network stiffer, but on the real world side. A couple other things for iCal, Google Calendars. So when you sign up for corporate mail, like with a TripIt, with Concur, you can have your girlfriend, your wife, your girlfriend and your wife and your boss all get copies of your itinerary. Well, if something goes south, they still have your itinerary, your confirmation number, your seat number. They could call, they know your house is empty, the kids are home alone. All because, again, you don't scrub the ACL for your calendar list. This will go like that, so there's a point to this. Yes, you can spoof your Twitter GPS. Okay, so I tweet I'm from Belarus, I'm from Hawaii, I'm from Saudi Arabia. I didn't actually go there in 30 seconds of each other. But going to tinfoleak.com, I can pull down my Twitter report. I was in class over in Belgium. I was teaching, screwing around on the internet. Same thing. And I was able to tweet from Iran, Moscow, Dar es Salaam. I'm obviously not really there when I'm in the back of the classroom. But what is there, what's real, is it's going to tell you that I'm tweeting from my iPhone. That gives you an attack vector. We know we want to go into after Will's iPhone account through this manner or try to hack into his Android, and that differentiates exactly what device your victim is using, and you want them to maybe not use Twitter during this time of domestic confrontation. The Grug says, use Signal, use Tor. Those are great if your device is clean. I say assume all your devices are compromised until you know for sure every keystroke you make isn't being copied to the X's device knowing what you're typing. So I would recommend, as a takeaway, to go a little bit bricks and sticks, old school. Use personal meetings. If somebody thinks they're being followed, stalked digitally by the abuser, use personal meetings. You leave the electronics behind, go somewhere secure. Go sit down with them at Waffle House and have a meeting. Don't do it over text. You can have nonverbal paroles if your person coming to you for help is in a bad situation. Things like, we joked about Clemson, but I'm wearing a Clemson shirt on my Facebook page. That means things are bad. Come by and visit me, or come by and I'll leave with you. Instead of texting things out and letting the abuser know that things are bad at home, your Facebook picture changed, and that's the beacon that you need help. These are things that can be done that are very non-intrusive to help somebody get out of a bad situation. We talked a little about iPhones being monitored and hacked. I take a little bit of offense to that because it's not really hacking. A neighbor asked me if I could help her monitor her son's phone while her son was visiting the dad. Just like dealing with attorneys, the short answer in writing is no. The long answer is no, I won't. That's illegal. End of story. That's not worth going to jail over. A company called MSpy, their version of hacking. A provides B MAC ID to MSpy. Great. You've got my username and password. You get it to a third party. The phone gets backed up nightly. MSpy just harvests the deltas between the last time it was updated, takes the changes and emails it to your report. That's not a hack. That's just copying your backup data. But again, for a prize, what's the easiest way to mitigate this? Who said that? All right. I don't even want to try to throw it that far. Another one, check my time here, 15 minutes. Device called Sleep Cycle. Anyone here heard of this? Okay. It taps into the potentiometer on your phone, and the overt purpose is to actually track to see how well you sleep at night, whether or not you toss or turn, and it gives you a graph. You sleep very well from these hours. You're in light sleep, heavy sleep, you're in REM sleep. Actually pretty good when you're traveling to see what's a good mattress for you. The covert use for this, I would recommend, if you think someone's going through your phone, going through your gear at night, the victim could just load MSpy, put the phone down, and then if there's a spike in the middle of the night when they know they didn't touch it, that's your canary to say, my phone has been moved. I'm in a different danger awareness situation than I was before. Or if you just put your phone on top of your laptop, now you know your phone was moved and now your laptop has been accessed, all through this non-alerting, non-intrusive method of using the potentiometer just repurposed. Another way to have a non-traditional method of communicating would be on your Mac, going to recovery mode, that partition on your Mac for recovery to get your Mac out of a bad situation, Control-R, reboot it. It gives you access to the internet. You can get help online, which is actually kind of ironic. You've got access to a web browser. It doesn't retain the history. You can get online, email with a different account, contact people, and that web history isn't available on the regular partition. Think about it. If the recovery partition gets hosed and it's not read-only, that's more work for Apple. People have to go to the Apple store or wait in line. This is a pretty bulletproof method to get online without stalkerware or spyware. So if you find a device, we've covered the digital domain, the social media, a little bit of the mail, but if you find a device, electronic surveillance installation, it's not so much CIE's DS&T anymore providing gadgets. These are available from Amazon. You have your traditional USB plug, but you put a micro SD card in, translucent cover, and now you've got power, and you've got a motion-activated remote camera to see who's coming and going from your door. For some situations, this is great. Is pest control coming in my house when I'm not there and going through my stuff? That's great for that situation. But it's my spouse is stalking me. How would I detect this? It's actually pretty easy. Again, with a triad, right? You've got collection, power, and storage. So collection, because that USB device doesn't feed out to the internet, it's got continuous AC power, but it has a maximum range now. USB cards are getting better. I saw a 2 terabyte micro USB the other day. So collection and power storage are going to feed off each other. The more it collects, the more they're going to have to come back and service this. This is a 1080p camera hidden inside the clock, connects to AC power, connects to Wi-Fi, and beams out to the abuser's phone. So now they're going to show up back on the router. You can see where they showed up, or you can actually see where they are on the router. That's illegal. You can't videotape somebody in the bedroom. You have an expectation of privacy. And that, I believe, is a felony. That's a legal term. Very simple. If it's a new camera, just unplug it. Get rid of it. Who uses desktop clocks anyway? That's a 720p micro camera hidden inside the air freshener, but again, somebody would have to come physically manage that, get the SD card out, and change the batteries. The black device is an audio-only recorder. It records 128 hours of audio. If you flick the switch up, it's 128 nonstop. Flick it down, it's burst only. Somebody physically has to manage that and process the take. And if anybody's ever processed collection tape for covert collection, it's not anything, it's horrible of having to just sit and listen to 128 hours of conversations you don't care about and type it up. But again, somebody physically has to manage this. So if you don't have access to the device and you need to manage the SD card, you need to manage the power, Well, if you just give the kids a device and let them take it to and from the other parent's house every other weekend, put it right behind mom, and now it's watching mom shoulder surf and get all of her passwords and credentials as she's online. Then it goes back to the other person's house. They harvest the collection, put new batteries in. It looks harmless, but there was another case I've worked where this was how the ex was getting access to the mother's email and banking through a nanny cam. This is new, and this is okay. Happy presentation, right? Apple's now integrated earpods into the hearing aid. You can see the ear down here. You can leave your phone in the room, connect it to your phone, to your earpods, walk out with your phone in the room, and listen to the conversation from 30 feet away. Something else that you want your person who might be in a bad situation to be cognizant. They've left their phone. They're still listening to you talking about your attorney, talking about planning your escape, getting an apartment. This is now high-tech gear that's been dual-purposed. Bluetooth, very simple. We've got 10 minutes left, so we'll have to speed through this. You turn your Bluetooth on, use something like Net Toolbox, and you can see if there's Bluetooth listening in around you to see if there's any rogue devices. Again, if there is, take a screenshot, save it for the police. Tracking. Yes, Amazon sells trackers. They advertise it's for spouses. It's about the size of a pack of cards that goes under a car. For $25 a month, you can watch where the car goes. But I'm going to have to talk really fast. That's great. But you don't need that, because if you're on a family plan, the family plan owner for T-Mobile now gets all the data that's collected from car telemetry sent to the account plan holder, and he can still see the same amount of data as if he had the beacon for the car, just like this, which isn't actually a GPS beacon. That's data ripped from an imaged iPhone of data being sent back to the service for Facebook to advertise where the user's been. If you have access to the phone because you didn't change your password, you have the same physical collection as if you had had a beacon under the car. So the old school PI methods are bypassed by social media. Fitness beacons, if your friend's worried about being stalked because of fitness beacon advertising where they run jog, very simply, stop it. Nobody cares what your jogging route is. The world will get by if they don't know how long you ran down Blue Jay Road. Nobody cares. Leave the beacon at home if you're worried about being stalked. Very simple. All right, you get it, right? You can order pizza, you're done. Dominos retains your past 2 years of locations and orders. So if you forgot, just like Shuttle Tydirium, it's an older code, but it checks out, well, I'm still into their Dominos. I can see where they ordered pizza, where they are. Same thing. I don't have to hack your iPhone to get your location if I still know where you're ordering pizza for Pizza Fridays. Identity theft, it's binary. They have access. If there's identity theft, go identitytheft.gov. Great website. The abuser has pressure, opportunity, and rationalization, the fraud triangle. You know, well, I have to pay for rent on my own. They owe this to me. I supported them during this tough time. I'm going to take this much from them. I'm putting a credit card in their name. Very simple. Either there's identity theft or there's not. If there is, go to identitytheft.gov, have them reported, get an FTC number, work with the banks. Very quickly, Spoof Card lets you copy even the bank phone number, so you can put in Citibank's fraud desk number to call the victim. It's going to show up as Citibank. So they have to be more aware if someone calls in with information to help them out. It may not actually be who it appears to be because something like this shows up. Apple's new update on the iOS has a check mark, like Twitter has verified users. The new check mark on the iOS is going to say this is from a trusted, legitimate source. So we've covered data, confidentiality, control your environment. We talked about identity theft, data availability. If it ain't documented, it ain't. The CIA version is if it ain't in cable traffic, it ain't, but half the crowd may not know what cable traffic is. Like working with a SOC where everything is backed up, you have your corporate network, laptop on the network, everything's synced constantly. You've got all the data backed up to the SOC. There's an offsite. There's a disaster recovery site. You don't have that. You have the one USB drive where he talks about or she talks about, yes, I did this horrific thing. I've been doing this. It's something that would greatly help your victim to close the case, move on, get a restraining order, file charges. Doesn't matter. Unlike corporate America, you have one, maybe two pieces of information that can change the case. So you want to document that file. I found this file on this date, on this time. Have a backup copy. This is me, but I like to have a primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency, and PACE. That way, here's the original. It's in a safe deposit box. A copy was left with the attorney, sent to the police, and the copy that I'm going to work on to help this person with their case, the tertiary copy, the others are there. So even if something goes wrong with the first or second drive, I still have a backup because this USB drive is the only thing that would make a difference in the case. I'm not hoping that SanDisk's drive isn't going to fail. Anybody ever had a USB drive fail? Right? Another key thing, be available for the other person. They're coming to you. It's not just a technical problem. This is a lifestyle problem. It's not badging out and leaving the sock at the end of the day. This person lives this problem 24/7. They've come to you probably after debating whether or not you can help them. Be available for them. Not just just be a normal, decent person, because this is a horrible thing. This won't last forever for them. But at least it's something more than a SANS question. It's a lifestyle problem that they're dealing with. And it's just a bad situation. 2 is 1, 1 is none. That goes back to primary, alternate, contingency, emergency. If you don't make a backup. So very quickly, we've got 4 minutes. Firm, friendly, final, and fair. When we're terminating an asset with CIA, whether or not we don't need the information anymore, they've lost access for whatever reason, policies changed, we would say, you've done a great job, we need to get the laptop back. We're giving you a new laptop. Here's an extra bonus. Thank you so much. They don't leave bitter that you've closed the relationship. They're happy that they've done something great. Same thing if we go back to the tracking device for T-Mobile on the cell phones. Hey, I know things are tough. I've got a new cell phone plan. Got a different number. I'll get it to you later. But you don't have to pay for my plan anymore. I'm taking care of that burden for you. Same methodology as saying, I don't want you tracking me. But it's friendly, it's final, it's still fair, it's done, you can't reverse it. Something else to consider when we're helping, the outside world looks at us as hackers, for better or for worse, wearing our black hoodies. And anything you do that could be perceived as hacking by the courts is going to have a jaundiced eye to your actions, so be above and beyond board with your actions. To close this out, for shared technology in a domestic conflict, one device, strong authentication, strong encryption. The other one, very weak encryption, and the device was wiped. How fast would Star Wars have been a movie if C-3PO's database had only been deleted? 20 minutes? Unauthorized devices on a network from in-game. Rogue devices detected. 2023, Nebula showed up in the same space as 2014 Nebula. Thanos detected her on the network. He performed live memory forensic analysis. He did a Google takeout analysis for locations, for chats, for images, plans, and intents. So offense and defense. Yes, he did the exact same thing. He had a rogue device show up on his network. That's great. That's exactly what you want. But be careful if something is left behind of what can be used against you. So the too long, didn't read version, change your passwords, change your locks, report events to law enforcement. If you've changed that lock and the abuser comes back in the house, they're going to respond differently than, we are separated, but he's back in the house and I don't want him there. Versus, I changed the locks, he broke in. They're going to respond differently. We have a couple minutes for questions, but first I'd like to thank my employer, Revolutionary Security, for sponsoring me, for sending me here. We're hiring. If you need a job, talk to me afterwards. Magnet Forensics, they give Operation Safe Escape a full license for cloud forensics and for device forensics. That's made a big difference. So at least want to give them a shout out at the end of the presentation. We have a minute for questions. 1 minute. 2 minutes. Am I being generous? Okay. Always. Any questions? I have swag to give away for questions. Okay.
You talked about in the friendly fear segment, the person saying, "Oh, well, I go into a new phone plan. Here's my new number." Can you do that and transport the old number safely, or is it better off?
I would just cut it completely. All right, I'll take that. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I hear a lot of times where people will say, it doesn't matter what happened during, either bad times or during the divorce cycle and that, just courts don't care. Do you find that to be really true, or is it the way they go about it?
What do you mean?
If you do it more in a systematic, non-emotional way versus the fight back for the woman's house, or are the courts just tired of getting perceived?
She asked, does it matter what you've collected? And I would say, I hate the answer, but it depends. If it's, yes, I've moved out on this state, yes, I'm seeing somebody new, it all depends on what state it is. In South Carolina, if you've got adultery, that closes the door to alimony, and then, yes, I'm seeing somebody new. Okay, you can't collect alimony from me because you already admitted you're seeing somebody new. Then we're not divorced. That could be considered evidence. The downside is you've actually got to prove it's from a cell phone, not just a text printout from iSpoofText.com or somewhere like that. So, depends. Not maybe the answer you wanted, but...
I just get a lot of people who tell me, thanks for helping me, but no one's going to say anything.
It depends on the attorney, the judge, and... All right. I've got swag for you. Any other questions? All right. Think we're good? All right. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it.